Today we're going to be talking about plant and animal cells. The cells have varying structures and locations, and depending upon location, the structure will be different, which the job will be slightly different that each cell does. Cells are very, very dynamic, meaning that depending on location, they do a different job, they have a slightly different structure. Cells allow life because they create the oxygen and carbon dioxide that we need to survive and that the plant needs to survive. They create the food that all organisms need to eat in order to survive. Okay. And cells are the basic building blocks of life. All things are created from cells. They are the smallest things of life, creating everything. Talking about the dynamics of the cell, I have a couple examples, starting with the stem. The stem's purpose is transportation, and therefore the cells in the stem are elongated, meaning that they are longer than they are wide, and they act much like straws, moving like water from the roots to the stem, or from the roots to the leaf, and food from the leaf to the root. A second example, different from the stem, is the leaf. The cells in the leaf, as you can see, look different by the pictures. The ones in this picture are called stomates, and they basically are there to keep water in the cell so that the plant doesn't lose all the water it has. And as you can see, they act like little mouths, and like this one is considered open and this one is considered closed. A second part of the leaf that is not in the stem or the roots is chloroplast. And in this picture, all the little chloroplasts are all the green dots. And chloroplasts are what give the leaf its green color. And inside the chloroplast, photosynthesis is occurring. And photosynthesis is the process of creating food that the plant needs to survive. Now, chloroplasts and stomates are not in the root, because it would be pointless to stop evaporation from occurring when it's in the root. And it would be pointless to have photosynthesis occurring in the root when you need sunlight. So there is a purpose for the stem, for the cells to be dynamic. So the third example, all in the same plant, is the root. The root is there for storage. And as you can see, there are lots and lots of open spaces in the root. And if you look closely at the picture, all the little dots in here are kind of the sugars and the starches that are stored. So if you look at it kind of in a real life scenario, if someone was a UPS truck driver, they wouldn't show up to McDonald's to work. They would go to the UPS office, because they wouldn't have the right equipment for McDonald's, they wouldn't know how to do the job correctly. It's kind of the same thing. So, getting to some organelles that are located in both plants and animals. The nucleus is the place where all the DNA is stored in the plant. It is very, very large. As you can see, this is the nucleus, and then this is the entire cell. Inside the nucleus, DNA is stored, and it also creates RNA, which is used in ribosomes. So, ribosomes are another organelle that is used in both plants and animals. The ribosomes are all these little black dots that are within the cell, and as you can see, there are many of them. The ribosomes are there for the synthesis and breakdown of proteins. By breaking down the proteins, it allows the body to use them the way that it is necessary. Another organelle that is in both plants and animals is the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum can be broken up into the smooth and the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is considered the rough endoplasmic reticulum simply because the ribosomes in the cell are attached to it, as you see here. So this would be the endoplasmic reticulum, the little tube thing, and the ribosomes are all the little black dots. So it appears rough. Now the rough endoplasmic reticulum is a helper in the protein synthesis process. The ribosomes are the main part of the process, and the endoplasmic reticulum works as a secondary. After the proteins have been broken down, the rough endoplasmic reticulum synthesizes them a little bit more and transports them to where they need to go in the cell. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum also works as a transporter, but opposed to proteins, it processes lipids, which is another name for fats. It breaks down lipids that are poisonous to the body. It synthesizes lipids that are necessary for the body to use, and by synthesizing them, it makes it so they're in a usable state. And it creates things that are called phospholipids, and these are used in the cell wall, or in the cell membrane, which we will talk about a little bit later. Another organelle that is in both plants and animals is the Golgi body apparatus. The Golgi body apparatus is often nicknamed the post office, and this is because it processes and transports information in and out of the body, much like a post office would do. The mitochondria is located right here, and the mitochondria is used to process energy, or produce energy, It uses cellular respiration as a process happening inside the mitochondria to produce the energy. And because it produces energy, it is nicknamed the power plant, much like a power plant produces energy for the natural world. So let's hit a question up. What is the purpose of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum? It processes, creates, and breaks down lipids. If you can remember, the nucleus stores DNA, the rough endoplasmic reticulum synthesizes proteins, and the Golgi body apparatus just processes and distributes information, would be the finish of that sentence. Alright, so some organelles that are found only in the plant. Chloroplasts are the first, and as we talked about as the dynamic leaf, they are used for photosynthesis. They're where photosynthesis occurs. Photosynthesis, once again, produces the energy which directly produces the food that the plant needs to survive. The chloroplasts also are what give the leaf its green color, something that is not occurring in animals. No animal appears green because they have so much chloroplasts in their body. And another organelle that is found only in the plant cell is the vacuole. Now, the vacuole is a little bit harder to see. Basically, it is a water-filled sac. So that's why it's kind of hard to see. If you look here, it's basically 90% of the cell, and you can't see it because it is full of water. The vacuole stores many different things, but its main thing that it stores is water, and it acts as a waste disposal unit. It can hold nutrients inside of it if necessary, and it can hold colorful pigment, which is what makes flowers pretty and onions red. Now, things that are found only in the animal cells would be the lysosomes. The lysosomes are nicknamed the garbage disposal, and this is because they are where the waste that the animal would use is put, and then it is processed there and distributed to be gotten rid of and out of the body. They are very similar to the vacuole. They store things, they process waste. The main difference in them, though, is that Obviously, one's in a plant, one's in an animal. Lysosome, there are very, very many. How it was one big vacuole. All these little black circles are the lysosomes. So as you can see, there are very many of them. And the vacuole does a lot more storage than the lysosome does. Alright, so getting to the outer membrane. Animal cells and plant cells have what is called a membrane, a cell membrane. And going back to how the smooth endoplasmic reticulum creates phospholipids, this is where it comes into play. The phospholipid bilayer is what the cell membrane is made out of, and basically it means that it has two parts, these little heads and then all these little tails, and what it does is allows things in and out of the cell and determines what gets in and out of the cell, which is obviously a protection unit. So then plant cells have an extra layer, which if you think about it, plants are harder than animals and they're more like rigid. And the plant or the cell wall is made out of very, very rigid material, and it is 90% for support. It does not stop anything from coming in and out, and that is why the cell membrane is also necessary with the cell wall. So this is the cell membrane, and then this would be the cell wall. The cell membrane is this very, very thin little light gray area, and then the cell wall, which usually has two parts, it's called primary and secondary cell wall. This darker would be the primary, and then this white would be the secondary cell wall. Alright, so let's talk about purpose. Plants and animals rely on each other very, very much. They cannot survive without each other. Plants need carbon dioxide to perform photosynthesis, which is the process of creating energy and sugars for the plant's food. And this photosynthesis then gives off oxygen as a byproduct. Animals need oxygen to survive. We need to breathe it in order to do cellular respiration in the mitochondria, which produces our energy. And then we breathe out carbon dioxide, which is necessary for the plant. Alright, so another question. What cellular process produces O2, which is oxygen? Photosynthesis in plants does. For A, plants and animals both go through cellular respiration, but cellular respiration produces carbon dioxide. Animals do not photosynthesize, and both plants and animals go through cellular respiration. So, a little recap. The structures of plant cells and animal cells are basically the same. The organelles are basically all the same, except for there's a vacuole in plants and lysosomes in animal cells, and there is chloroplast in plant cells, which is not in animal cells. The cells are very dynamic. There's a difference between the stem, the root, and the leaf. And there is a difference between the shape in plants and animal cells because of the cell membrane, as opposed to in plants there's a cell membrane and a cell wall. And all the cells have a specific purpose. Plants need carbon dioxide, which is produced by cellular respiration, which is prominently in the animal cell. And animal cells need oxygen, which is produced by photosynthesis in plants, which does not occur in animals. So basically, they're all very, very important to life. All the information used in this slideshow came from Biological Sciences, the 3rd edition, the chapter called Inside the Cell, and it was written by Scott Freeman.